The sun was setting on a quiet town when chaos erupted. A group of outlaw bikers rolled in, loud engines and bad intentions in tow. Among their reckless antics, they made a shocking move. They targeted a police K9, a loyal and well-trained partner in the force. To them, it was a cruel joke, something to boast about later. But they had no idea who they had just crossed. The K9's handler, a seasoned officer with an unshakable bond to his four-legged partner, wasn't going to let this go. With every clue he uncovered, the trail grew darker, revealing just how far these bikers were willing to go. What started as a random act of cruelty was about to unleash a relentless pursuit fueled by justice and loyalty. But as the officer closed in, a chilling question loomed: just how dangerous were the men he was hunting? The officer couldn't shake the image of his injured K9, the loyal partner who had saved lives and stood by him in countless dangerous situations. For him, this wasn't just a job, it was personal. The bikers might have seen it as a prank, but the officer knew the intent behind their actions went deeper. These weren't just thrill-seekers, they were men who thrived on intimidation and chaos. As he started piecing together the bikers' trail, he discovered their reputation in the area. Locals whispered about the gang, calling them untouchable. They were known for running illegal operations and silencing anyone who got in their way. Yet, no one seemed to know where they came from or where they hid. The officer dug deeper, following every lead and pushing past the fear that kept others silent. But the more he uncovered, the more dangerous the bikers seemed, and the more determined he became. As the officer pressed on, his determination became a double-edged sword. Every small clue he found, the faint smell of oil on a backroad, a witness recalling the roar of motorcycles late at night, led him closer to the gang, but pushed him further into their world of danger. He knew his actions hadn't gone unnoticed. The bikers were known for their swift retaliation, and he could feel the weight of unseen eyes watching his every move. At home, the injured K9 rested, its normally vibrant spirit dimmed but not broken. The sight fueled the officer's resolve, but it also reminded him of the stakes. This wasn't just about justice anymore. It was about protecting everything he held dear. Meanwhile, whispers of his pursuit began circulating within the gang. Some dismissed him as just another cop, but others grew uneasy. A storm was brewing, and both sides were preparing for what was coming. The officer's relentless pursuit finally uncovered a critical lead, a remote warehouse on the outskirts of town that locals avoided at all costs. It was there the bikers gathered, hiding in plain sight, their motorcycles lined up like an unspoken warning to outsiders. Armed with this knowledge, the officer knew he was close, but he couldn't afford a single mistake. These men thrived on fear, and one wrong move could escalate the situation beyond control. Inside the warehouse, the gang debated their next steps. Some were eager to send a clear message to the officer, while others were growing uneasy with the heat his investigation was bringing. Tension simmered among them, their unity fraying under the pressure. But the leader, a ruthless figure with a cold stare, silenced the dissent with a single command: prepare for whatever came next. As the officer drove through the dark streets toward the warehouse, his mind raced. He wasn't just walking into their territory, he was walking into a trap. The stakes had never been higher, and the line between hunter and hunted was beginning to blur. As the officer approached the warehouse, the unsettling silence of the night was broken by a sudden shift in the air. His phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. The message was short but chilling. Asterisk, turn back, or you'll regret it. Asterisk, it was clear the gang was watching him, but how closely? His grip tightened on the steering wheel as he ignored the warning and continued forward. As the officer drove through the dark streets toward the warehouse, his mind raced. He wasn't just walking into their territory, he was walking into a trap. The stakes had never been higher, and the line between hunter and hunted was beginning to blur. As the officer approached the warehouse, the unsettling silence of the night was broken by a sudden shift in the air. His phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. The message was short but chilling. Asterisk, asterisk, turn back, or you'll regret it. Asterisk, asterisk, it was clear the gang was watching him, but how closely? His grip tightened on the steering wheel as he ignored the warning and continued forward. Meanwhile, back at the station, his colleagues uncovered a shocking revelation. The gang wasn't just a loosely connected group of bikers. They had ties to a larger, more dangerous network. This wasn't just a local problem anymore. It was something far bigger. As the officer was closing in on the warehouse, his team scrambled to warn him, but the radio signal cut out, leaving him in silence. Unaware of this new layer of danger, he parked at a distance and crept closer. The faint hum of engines idling inside told him the gang was still there. But just as he was about to move in, a figure emerged from the shabby officer spun around, his flashlight cutting through the dark, only to freeze in disbelief. Standing before him was his K9's former trainer, a man thought to have retired years ago. The trainer's expression was grim, and his voice low. "You're walking into something bigger than you realize," he said. "They're expecting you and they're ready." Before the officer could respond, the roar of motorcycles echoed from the warehouse. The gang spilled out, their headlights piercing the night, engines revving like a battle cry. It was a standoff, one man against an entire gang. But then the trainer stepped forward, revealing a hidden radio in his hand. "I've been tracking these guys for months," he said. "You're not alone." From the darkness, backup arrived, silent but swift. Officers moved into position, cutting off the gang's escape. Chaos erupted as the gang tried to scatter, but the officers were ready. The officer confronted the gang leader directly, his resolve unwavering. After a tense struggle, the leader was taken into custody, his reign of intimidation finally over. As the dust settled, the officer looked back at the trainer, who nodded in quiet approval. But just as relief began to set in, the trainer handed him a file. "This isn't the end," he said. "They're part of something much bigger. Be ready for what's coming next." Hours behind him, it wasn't one of the bikers, it was someone he never expected to see. As dawn broke, the quiet town began to stir, unaware of the night's events. The gang's arrest brought a sense of justice, but for the officer, it was more than just a win. It was a reminder of why he wore the badge. His K9 partner, still recovering, would heal in time, and their bond, forged through loyalty and trust, felt stronger than ever. At the station, the trainer explained the larger network behind the gang, but this time, the officer wasn't daunted. He knew the fight wasn't over, but he also knew he wasn't alone. The teamwork and determination that brought the gang down proved that even the most dangerous challenges could be overcome with persistence and courage. As he returned home to his partner's wagging tail, the officer reflected on the night's events. Justice had prevailed, and while more battles lay ahead, he was ready to face them head-on.